Aphex Twin Blackbox Life Recorder 21 FEP review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this latest EP from one of the best to ever do the damn thing, Mr. Richard D. James, aka Aphex Twin, who since the early 90s has been just the man as far as a lot of IDM and ambient techno and so many other subgenres in the electronic music field goes. I mean, his early works, his selected ambient works projects, the 85 to 92, as well as its follow-up. I mean, they're two of the electronic albums that I personally have listened to the most in my life, probably. I mean, the original, it's just an all-time classic IDM, ambient techno, sort of minimalist album that is just so good. I mean, like I've said on this channel before, I do a lot of writing in my spare time, and these have been the soundtracks to a lot of writing sessions. And throughout the 90s, Richard really did not slow down at all. I mean, albums like I Care Because You Do, as well as the Richard D. James album. I mean, these are just great blends of acid house and ambient techno and IDM and so many more. And not only that, on top of that, the guy also dropped a lot of really classic EPs as well, like Window Licker and Come to Daddy. I mean, you can't go wrong with any project that just doesn't have some weird warped picture of Richard's face on it. Now, the 2000s, on the other hand, have been a little bit more sporadic for his work. For example, 2001, he released his Drux album, and I was not really that into it. I'm still really not that into it. I mean, this thing is 2 hours long. It is not nearly as consistent, and while I thought the more organic instrumentation throughout the album was pretty cool, I didn't feel like it lived up to the hype, at least not for me. And then it would be 13 years before we heard really much of anything from the Aphex Twin name. I mean, Richard certainly stayed busy from time to time, but not in the Aphex Twin sort of sense. We got his Cyro album, which, I mean, I don't think it's perfect, but I was more impressed than anything with just how he was able to kind of, get back on track with a bunch of field recordings that have been floating around, and just a lot of it sounded pretty damn good. And since then, he's been pretty active, at least from an EP stance. I mean, he dropped both Cheetah and his fantastic Collapse album. Both of these EPs, I really do think, are just really sharp, just very classic sounding Aphex Twin albums, EPs, excuse me, with just some new twists. He just sounds very refreshed right now, which leads me to this new EP that dropped last week. I took a few days and I listened to it, and I was really hyped for this EP leading up to it. I thought the singles he was dropping sounded really fresh. You know what? This is just what I wanted to hear. This EP is pretty damn short. It's only 4 tracks, about 15 minutes. And it starts off with its title track, Blackbox Recorder 21F, and like I said, when I heard this single drop, I thought I was very excited by it. I still am very excited about it. I mean, I hate to be this guy because, artists need to progress and all, but this is very back to basics for Richard, and honestly, I can't be more ecstatic about that. This is a very sleek, meditative IDM and ambient techno track. It's got all the bells and whistles, all the sort of branching out into other genres that Richard has always toyed with. It's got some really fresh hi-hats, also some really dreary synths too. Some haunting vocal snippets as well, something that I'll always appreciate. And you know what? This track progresses nicely too. I mean, when that sort of heavier beat rolls in, it goes hard. And from there, it doesn't really slow down. It's explosive, it's raw, but it also doesn't take away from just how meditative and hypnotic it is. It's personally where I like hearing my Aphex Twin. Xeon 2 Test 5, on the other hand, it's a little bit more rugged. It's a little bit more rough around the edges. But it's got that icy groove that does make you move in a weird way. You certainly have those weird tracks from Aphex Twin where you kind of want to dance, but you question yourself. But once again, it's so simple. It's so straightforward. And I don't mean that in a bad way here. This is home for me. This is the Aphex Twin sound that I grew up with. Just, you know, a little glossier and some, you know, enough left turns and genuine risks that make it, you know, something new and fresh. In a Room F760, also love this track. This is easily the most upbeat and groove-centric track here. I mean, those drums and hectic synths, it gets me up and moving. I mean, this to me, like, if you want to, like, kind of pinpoint a sound for Richard, this is very late 90s for him, like his Richard D. James album. Not a bad thing. It sounds just as fresh and updated and exciting for me. There's plenty of glitchy production and really abrasive shifts. I love this. We also get the Blackbox Life Recorder 22 Parallax mix, and, you know, from my experience, when you're dealing with a short EP, whether it be an electronic artist or not, when, you know, one of the tracks on such a short work is a different mix of a song that we've already gotten, I usually head for the hills. It's usually just kind of pandering. It's usually not very interesting. But you know what? This is a fascinating alternate mix. It has a lot of things that made the original version of this track, you know, very compelling, but it's bulkier, it's headier. It's a lot darker too. It's like very cavernous. Yeah, this is a fascinating alternate mix of this already very good track. My hat is off to Mr. Richard D. James here on this EP. I mean, my biggest complaint about this thing is it just has me starving for more right now. I mean, the last two EPs he dropped, Cheetah and Collapse, both of them, you know, while very short as well, had like 25-30 minutes of material on there. I would have loved to have gotten that here, but, I mean, the 4 tracks that we get here are fascinating. They bring me back to a simpler time, but also remind me that Aphex Twin still has a lot in the tank and a lot to offer, and I hope that we just continue to get great EPs, or maybe even an album at this point. But for right now, just listen to this thing, man. Just listen to it all. Just put your headphones on and drift off to this, because this is seriously some great stuff on this EP. Feeling a decent 8. Let me know what you all think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.